The cargo bay of the Vesper's Edge reeked of recycled air and desperation. Mackenzie stood in the shadows, her fingers tracing the worn grip of her plasma cutter, a tool that had seen more combat than construction in recent months. Across the dimly lit space, the Krillian mercenary called Vexter lounged against a container, his chitinous plates clicking as he laughed. The Terran settlers. Vexter's translator crackled. Soft, so soft. The male tried to shield the female and their spawn. I peeled them apart segment by segment while they watched, his mandibles spread in what his species considered a grin. The female begged in that pathetic earth tongue, offered me credits, territory, anything. I took her life instead. More profitable. The other mercenaries around him, a mix of species that had learned to profit from the outer rims, lawlessness, laughed or remained silent. They'd all heard such stories before. Violence was currency out here, but they hadn't noticed the small Kishon cub huddled behind a stack of supply crates, or the human woman who Mackenzie had found Zara 3 days ago. The young Kishon barely alive, her orange fur matted with dried blood that wasn't her own. The cub couldn't have been more than 6 standard years old. She'd whispered her parents' names Keth and Myra before collapsing into fever dreams. Now, watching Vexter brag about murdering a family for sport and salvage rights, Mackenzie felt something cold and ancient settle in her chest. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy, adaptable, resilient, dangerous when provoked. But there was another trait the other species were still learning about. Humans bonded. And when someone hurt their pack, humans became something else entirely. Zachary appeared at her elbow, his cybernetic eye worry softly as it focused. Mac, I know that look. Whatever you're planning, he killed that cub's parents, Zach. For fun, I know. Zachary's jaw tightened. He'd been the one to help her treat Zara's wounds, had heard the cub crying for her mama in the night. But if you go after a registered merc in council space, we're 3 jumps outside council space, Mackenzie interrupted. And I'm not going to kill him. Zachary raised an eyebrow. No. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I'm going to make him wish I had. 6 hours later, Vexter woke in the maintenance section of the ship, suspended in a magnetic harness typically used for hull repairs. His weapons were gone, his cum was gone, and standing before him, backlit by the harsh white lights, was the human female he'd barely noticed before. You're making a mistake, Terran, Vexter hissed. I'm registered with the Mercenary Coalition. Touch me and what? Mackenzie circled him slowly. You'll report me, to whom? We're in the void, Vexter. No stations, no witnesses, no coalition oversight for another 72 hours. She held up a small holodisplay. Vexter's own face stared back, along with a bounty posting. Dead or alive, seems you killed the wrong family. The Kishon matriarchy has put out a considerable reward for information about Keth and Mira's murderer. Their daughter survived, you see. She described you perfectly. Vexter's mandibles clacked nervously. I want a lawyer. Coalition law, human law, Mackenzie interrupted, has a clause. When children are involved, when families are destroyed for profit. She leaned close enough that he could smell the coffee on her breath. We get creative with justice. Over the next 48 hours, Mackenzie demonstrated exactly how creative humans could be. She didn't use blades or fire, or any of the crude methods other species employed. Instead, she used chemistry, biology, and psychology. Krillian nerve clusters responded predictably to certain electromagnetic frequencies, not enough to cause permanent damage, but enough to create cascading pain responses. Their exoskeletons, so proud and strong, became prisons when the right pressure points were stimulated. But the worst part, the part that broke Vexter, was the waiting. Mackenzie would inflict calculated discomfort, then leave him alone for hours. In the silence, Vexter's own mind became his torturer. He'd think about the Terran settlers, about how the male had looked at him with defiant courage even as he died, how the female had tried to bargain with a monster. He'd never considered them people before, just obstacles, profit margins. Now, in his isolation, he couldn't stop seeing their faces. Zachary watched from the doorway as Mackenzie worked, his expression unreadable. You're breaking him, he observed quietly. Good. Mackenzie didn't look up from her datapad, monitoring Vexter's vital signs. He needs to understand what he took from that little girl. And when you're done, then we deliver him to the Kishon matriarchy alive, as requested. She finally met Zachary's gaze, but changed. On the 3rd day, Mackenzie brought Zara to the maintenance bay. The cub's orange fur had been cleaned, her wounds treated, but her eyes still held that terrible emptiness that came with loss. Is that him? Zara whispered, staring at the broken mercenary. Yes. Will he hurt anyone else? Mackenzie knelt beside the cub. Never again. Vexter looked at the Kishan, Kubrili looked and saw what he'd created. Not a profit margin, not collateral damage. A child without parents, a life forever scarred by his greed. He began to weep. A rasping sound that Krillians made when confronted with unbearable shame. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Zara watched him for a long moment, then turned away. "He's too late," she said simply. Mackenzie nodded. "Yes, he is." When the Vesper's Edge docked at Kishan-controlled station Haven's Reach, Mackenzie personally delivered Vexter to the Matriarchy's justice officers. He went quietly, almost gratefully, broken in ways that would never fully heal. The reward was substantial. Mackenzie placed every credit into a trust fund for Zara Dutt as they watched the cub embrace. Her aunt family, who'd been searching desperately, Zachary bumped Mackenzie's shoulder. "You're terrifying. You know that. Only when I need to be. Remind me never to hurt someone you care about." Mackenzie smiled. "Genuine this time. Your pack, Zach. You're safe." Across the galaxy, the story spread, whispered in mercenary bars, shared on encrypted networks, becoming legend. Don't harm human-protected young. Don't boast about killing in front of Terrans. And never, ever underestimate what a human will do when someone hurts their pack, because humans don't just seek revenge, they make sure you understand exactly what you've done. Slowly,